Welcome back to the Save It for Parts channel. Earlier this summer, we rented a boat in southeast Alaska and visited a number of locations, including Taku Harbor. This spot is about 20 miles from Juneau, and it's a popular place for boaters and fishers to visit. Taku Harbor has been the site of a Tlingit native village, a trading post, a Hudson's Bay Company fort, and later a salmon cannery. There are apparently no year-round residents today, although there are a few private cabins in the area. The main power lines for Juneau actually run right past Taku Harbor, but none of the buildings here are connected to city power. In many ways, Taku Harbor is similar to Funter Bay, the ghost town where I grew up. Both locations have a state float and dock, a former cannery, and they're both popular boating destinations from Juneau. Taku Harbor is a little different since it's on the mainland, so the climate and some of the animals are just slightly different. This is quite an entertaining trail, if you could call it a trail. It's just up and down all the root masses. There must have been a boardwalk here in the old days with the cannery. There's another old building. Trying not to run into private property here. I know there are some private buildings over this way. I would hope they'd put up some signs, but you never know. Got some more old ruins in here and remnants. Quite a bit more than was at Cape Fanshawe, but less than at Funter. So this shack has a bunch of old rusty stuff in it, old fishing gear, some rope, big tub of rusty hooks, and the typical stuff that you find in an old cabin on the woods, on the beach, yeah. Oh yeah, all kinds of stuff in here. There's a bit of a muddy trail here that goes out to the cannery ruins. I think it might actually be easier to walk down on the beach, but at high tide, this would be the only trail. Aside from that trail in the woods, I guess you'd use that one at really high tide, but it's not a great trail back there. Yeah, this one's in better condition. I'm assuming that is somebody's private cabin, although it's a little overgrown, but it's always hard to tell out here. There's a big old mooring buoy in here. I'm assuming this keeps going over to those other cannery buildings, former cannery buildings. Oh, there's another shed. There's quite a bit in here still, actually. Interesting. Huh. All right, well, this is some kind of a net shed, part of an outboard motor. Yeah, old bench, scale, all kinds of stuff in here. There's the fuel can for the outboard, spare parts. It can be really hard to tell what areas are private property versus state park, especially when there are no signs up. I know there is quite a bit of public land out here, but I know there's also a bit of private land. And I don't really want to walk into somebody's backyard. It's just rude. So we had people do that when we lived out at Funter Bay. People would wander around and they kind of assumed all the cabins were old abandoned cabins, even the ones that people still used. Generally, if you're exploring an old community like this in Alaska, or anywhere really, you just want to be respectful. Don't break anything, don't steal anything. If a place looks like it's occupied or used, don't mess with it. Just use common sense and be polite of potentially other people's property. Even if it's not owned by somebody else, it's probably still a historic site, and leave it for someone else to enjoy later. All right, we're down on the beach in the old cannery ruins. That's cool. Somebody's left some artwork there. So this would have all been cannery buildings up on pilings. And the buildings themselves have all collapsed or burned and left the dock structure, the piling structure, very similar to Funter Bay, although there were fewer pilings left over there. But yeah, this is great. A lot of these are returning to nature. They've got trees growing out of the pilings. Got some rings and mounting bolts in the rocks. It's pretty fun. There's always a few interesting things on the beach, lots of metal artifacts and chunks. You think these are the can blanks, the metal they use to make the cans? Is it a big motor or a generator? It's hard to tell what that is. There's another interpretive sign here for the history of the cannery. Some valves and more stuff that's fallen down into the pilings. Yeah, again, this would have all been buildings up above us. That stuff is up at floor level of the old buildings. And so this is just all the rubble that fell through when the buildings gave way. Yeah, this is great. This is kind of like what used to be at Funter before it was all developed and subdivided, and a lot of the remnants were just kind of bulldozed into the ocean or into a hole. So lots of brick stuff, metal stuff. This looks like part of some kind of furnace with the brick and then the iron around it. This looks like an old boat. Yeah, this looks like the hull of a boat that's burned. It's got kind of the keel and then the engine. So from the cannery ruins to the left, that's private property. That's somebody's home or cabin over there. And then I think there's some more old homesteads farther up the inlet, and tons of crab pots out here. And then back to the entrance of Taku Harbor, and then the public dock. And that's our boat in the middle there, tied up, the Stikine. And that kind of swoops back around to the cannery here. This piece of equipment here looks like a Pelton wheel. So this would be their power system, their generator. These are the impact cups for the water to come down, spin this wheel, and then spin, it looks like spin a belt drive that then would have gone to either a generator, which I can't tell. That might be what's up there. That might be the generator system. And that looks like a big water valve, so that might have been where the water came down. Some of the equipment on these old canneries was just directly belt driven too, so I'm not quite sure how it was set up. I'll have to see if I can find some historic photos of this site and just see how things were laid out. Looks like some maybe doors for the retort, for the canning ovens. This looks like a big pile of slag, so this is where something plastic or something melted up on the dock and basically just oozed down. And this looks like part of an abandoned dock. This might be the original dock from here that rotted out. Still got the floats underneath. There could be somebody's private dock that just got pulled up here to store it. Parts of a marine railway here. Little train wheel. We'll haul boats in and out on that.
Here.
All right, we're gonna see who lives under this board. Go ahead.
2, 3.
Oh, there's a little blenny under here, a couple of them. Oh, there's one of these little sucker fish.
Is that a chitin right there?
This is one of those isopod things. This is the bitey kind. Yeah, little eel.
Snails all running.
Oh wow, look at these little isopods. Rach, look at all these little roly-polies. There's so many little
my goodness.
little guys there.
Looks like there's a race of snail going on in front of you.
Hermit crab.
Hermit crab.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, tons of hermit crabs. And there's part of a boiler. And then another retort door. Yeah, there's some angry crows up in here. I started to film and immediately ate it on this piece of wood. I think so. It's important to get that on film. Boy, everything is super overgrown. That could just be flooring or foundation of a building, but wow, the moss in here, this is something else. This might be one of the most mossy places I've seen, and I grew up in Southeast Alaska, so that's saying something. Yeah, this moss is great. Oh wow, there's quite a interesting old boat in here. Looks like a fixer-upper. I bet we could get that operating again. It's a old outboard. And you see stuff like this down in Minnesota. This outboard would be $100 at an antique store. And this boat would be on Craigslist for $500 at least. Let's see what's in this shed. Mostly trash. Some boat parts. Old luggage. Looks like maybe an old radio back there. Let's see if I can work my way over here. I see some more equipment. We've got another big wheel. And this, I can't tell what that is. It might be a compressor. It looks like maybe, okay, probably another pipeline that came down here. And there was probably a Pelton wheel right on this base that ran this. And this is probably an air compressor. This looks like the one out at the mine at Thunder Bay. I'm not going to walk on these old beams because I will just go straight through this. And I've already fallen once on this video, so I don't really need to do that again. There's some electrical wiring. Yeah, I think I'm in the foundation of this building. I'd rather not fall through any holes. So I'm just going to cut back over here to this trail. So that was just a quick intro to Taku Harbor. We did film some other things here, like a walk up to a muskeg meadow, and we did some 360 video. I know those have been popular lately. Anyway, I hope everyone enjoyed this quick visit to Taku Harbor. Stay tuned for other videos from here, and then if you want to see videos that I shot elsewhere on our trip to Alaska, go back and check out my other prior videos in this playlist. I've got a whole bunch of stuff all the way from Juneau, around Admiralty Island, by Thunder Bay, by some hot springs, an abandoned train, just all kinds of stuff. And I do have a few more videos in this series coming up. Thank you to everyone for watching, and we'll see you next time.